press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update.
Now we shall consider another important effect of heat, change of state. See, if you take a cube of ice from the refrigerator and kept it on empty vessel, a glass vessel, so you know that the temperature of ice cube is 0 degrees Celsius. So gradually, you will find that inside the glass tumbler, the ice starts melting. See, because the surrounding temperature or room temperature is around 25 to 28 degrees Celsius, right? By absorbing the heat from the surroundings, the ice cube starts melting. See, here you will be observing the change of state from solid to liquid, right? So, when it completely got liquefied, its temperature is 0 degrees Celsius. Now, take the same water and put it on the stove, put the container on the stove containing the ice cold water, and when you go on supplying the heat to the water, after certain stage, water started boiling. When you observe the boiling process, you will be finding that vapors are being produced, steam is produced. So, there, water is converted into its vapor. So, in this process also, when you record the temperature of boiling water is around 100 degrees Celsius. See, though there is a change of state, you will never observe any change in temperature. See, that is an interesting thing associated with the change of state. Okay. See, therefore, when heat is supplied to a substance, if the substance initially is in the solid state, it undergoes transition to liquid state, and if it is initially in the liquid state, it will undergo transition to gaseous state. So, if energy supplying is continued, it may even go to higher energized state, and we call it as plasma. So, you know that matter manifests itself in 4 different states: solid, liquid, gas and plasma. Under normal conditions, you will see only 3 states. Only at very high temperature, at extremely high temperature and pressure, you will be able to witness plasma state. For example, if you take the sun, the core of the sun is at very high temperature, and you know that sun is giving out enormous amount of energy by thermonuclear fusion process. The matter which is present in the core of the sun is in plasma state. See, therefore, through dense plasma, the radiation emerges out. See, therefore, you could witness plasma state during a bomb blast or during nuclear fission process or fusion process. Only under extreme conditions, very high temperature and high pressure, one could witness plasma state. Okay. So, now we are not going to the details of plasma, we are considering only transition from solid to liquid, liquid to gas, or change of phase from solid to liquid to gas. But, okay. So, that is considered here in change of state. So, whenever a solid converted into liquid, we call it as melting. So, therefore, change of state which involves from solid substance undergoing change of state from solid to liquid, and this is what we call it as melting. We call this as melting process. Melting process is going on. Okay. Similarly, if you take water and if you go on decreasing the temperature of water, when it reaches 0 degrees Celsius, and you will be finding that water got freezed out. There, liquid is converted into solid. See, if there is a change of state from liquid to solid, we call it as freezing or fusion. Why we call it as fusion? Because when the substance reaches the solid state, molecules comes very close to each other. See, it's a fusion. It is also called freezing. See, therefore, we can characterize the substance by saying that at what particular temperature it undergoes change of state, and that is indicated by melting point or freezing point. See, melting point is the temperature at which solid and liquid phases of a substance coexist in thermal equilibrium at a constant pressure. See, it is the temperature at which solid and liquid phases of a substance coexist in thermal equilibrium at a constant pressure, at a given pressure. See, that is called as melting point. Melting point. If you take melting point of water is how much? You know that it is 0 degrees Celsius. Freezing point is also 0 degrees Celsius. Melting point is also 0 degrees Celsius. See, remember, this melting point depends on the pressure. See, we are considering the melting point of ice at the atmospheric pressure. See, when you take melting point of a substance at the atmospheric pressure, it is called normal melting point. Normal melting point. See, therefore, normal melting point of ice is 0 degrees Celsius. What is atmospheric pressure? 1 atmospheric pressure. Say 1 atmospheric pressure is the pressure at the sea level. Pressure of the atmosphere, pressure exerted by the atmosphere at the sea level. What is its value? 101.3 kilopascal at the pressure of 1.013 into 10 raised to 5 pascal. If you consider, if you observe melting of ice, right? See, then that temperature is 0 degrees Celsius. Why I am specifying this? Because melting point of a substance depends on the pressure. If you increase the pressure, in case of ice, melting point decreases. In case of ice as well as rubber, you will be finding that with increase of pressure, melting point decreases. But in case of wax, if you increase the pressure, melting point also increases. Have you got my point? In case of ice, with increase in pressure, melting point decreases. Whereas in case of wax, you will be find that with increase in pressure, melting point also increases. And this, decrease of melting point due to increase in pressure has got lot of advantages. See, one such an advantage is related to regelation, the phenomenon of regelation. Let us understand regelation through an example. You just take a block of ice, and this block of ice is kept on two supports. And over this, you just keep a wire, metal wire, and this metal wire carrying a load. It is carrying a load. There is a metal wire carrying a load on either ends. Now you just keep the metal wire over there. Metal wire exerts pressure on the ice cube, and as a result, its melting point of ice decreases. Therefore, it started cutting the ice. It pierces through the ice cube. And after a certain interval of time, this metal wire got detached from this. it is comes out of the ice cube. Okay, you may think by that time the ice cube is cut into two halves. No, it is surprising to see that ice cube is same as earlier. It is in the same status before you starting this experiment. It is not cut into two halves. It is as a single unit. It is observed as a single unit. Okay. No fraction of ice is being cut down from this cube. When the pressure is applied, ice melts. As the wire crosses that point, pressure is being released. Therefore, ice again refreezes. And this phenomenon is called as regelation. So, therefore, when the pressure is applied on ice, ice melts, and when the pressure is released, ice refreezes, and that is what we call it as regelation. And this regelation has got a lot of advantages. See, if you take skating on ice, so when the skating board, a skater put the skater board below his feet, and when he stands on the ice surface, he exerts pressure on the ice surface, and as a result the ice below the skateboard melts. See, it became slippery, it slips. See, therefore, it is easy for him to slide on the surface of ice. See, therefore, skating is possible because when a skater stands or moves on the icy surface, because of pressure, melting point of ice decreases, and therefore, ice below the skating board, melts. Ice below it melts, and it became watery. See, therefore, the surface became slippery. See, that's why it is easy for the skater to move on the surface. See, therefore, skating is possible because of regelation. Or if you take the example of making an ice man, which is a funny thing, making an ice man. Say like this. Say you have observed ice man. See what they do. See, they will take ice, a lump of ice, and make into a sphere, and put it on one above the other. After a few minutes, it refreezes. And so you will be finding ice man there, right? Or if you take the example of glaciers, they are just like a huge lump of ice, huge, very extended ice blocks. They started sliding on their own. So you will find such glaciers in Himalayan mountain range. Here glacier is a huge block of ice. They exert pressure on the lower block. Sometimes it so happens that the lower block got melted, ice above the lower block got melted, and it became watery. As a result, if there is a slope, then the ice block above it started moving, sliding downwards, and that is what we call it as glaciers. See, therefore, motion of glaciers is due to regelation. Sometimes if it is struck somewhere else, again it got refreezes, appears like a mountain, another mountain. Have you got my point? See, this is about melting point and also dependency on the pressure. Therefore, if pressure increases, melting point decreases. If you take wax in particular, with the increase in pressure, melting point of wax also increases. See, now let us move on to change of state from liquid to its vapor. See, when there is a change of state from liquid to its vapor, when the liquid started boiling, there is a change of state from liquid to vapor. So we say that it is it is boiling process. It is called boiling. Or vaporization, sorry, not boiling, it's a vaporization. Vaporization. It's a vaporization process. Okay. From liquid to its vapor. Suppose if you consider the case wherein vapor is condensed into a liquid, that is also possible, and this is called as condensation. 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 When vapor condensed into liquid or converted into a liquid, it is condensation. When liquid converted into vapor, it is called vaporization. So this happens during the boiling of a liquid. During boiling of a liquid, the first case, when you take the first case, this happens during the boiling of the liquid, and it is characterized by so called boiling point. Boiling point is at that particular temperature at which liquid and vapor phases coexist in thermal equilibrium at a constant temperature. The temperature at which liquid and its vapor, the particular temperature of the substance at which liquid and its vapor coexist in thermal equilibrium at a constant pressure. If you take water at atmospheric pressure at sea level, the boiling point of water is 100 degrees Celsius. See, this is called normal boiling point. Normal boiling point. Boiling point of water is not 100 degrees Celsius at Davangere, because it is above sea level. See, therefore, here in Davangere, water boils at a temperature lesser than 100 degrees Celsius. Around 98 degrees Celsius, it started boiling. Not exactly at 100 degrees Celsius. Have you got it? See, therefore, it depends on the atmospheric pressure. As pressure increases, boiling point of water also increases. Boiling point of liquid increases. Have you got it? If pressure decreases, boiling point also decreases. Suppose if you take higher altitudes, if you go to Himalayas, water boils at very low temperature, around 80-85 degrees Celsius started boiling, right? So therefore, it is very difficult to cook food at higher altitude because water started boiling at lower temperatures, not even reaching the 100 degrees Celsius. Therefore, whatever contents you are put inside the vessel, so will require more time to get cooked, to get softened, right? See, that's the disadvantage. That's why we are making use of a pressure cooker. What is the advantage of pressure cooker? Inside the pressure cooker, see, pressure builds up very high. Therefore, water inside the pressure cooker boils not at 100 degrees Celsius, more than 120 degrees Celsius. See, that's why it is easier to cook food inside the cooker if you put inside the pressure cooker. Even if you make use of pressure cooker at higher altitude, it will be advantageous, right? Why? Because pressure cooker cooks the food faster, because inside the pressure cooker pressure builds up is very high, therefore boiling point of water will be very high, and hence the content inside got cooked up, right? So let us consider one simple experiment. See, I just take a round bottom flask, so which contains water, and this is kept on a stand, and you are supplying heat to it, and there is an outlet, say there is an outlet, steam outlet, and you are keeping the thermometer, okay, thermometer. When you start supplying heat, so you will be finding that after certain temperature, water started boiling and your thermometer started recording 100 degrees Celsius. Say we are conducting the experiment at the sea level. We are in Mangalore, okay. You are in Mangalore conducting this experiment. Therefore, it is at the sea level. Therefore, water at Mangalore boils at 100 degrees Celsius. See, therefore, your thermometer records 100 degrees Celsius and you will be finding that steam is coming out from it, okay. Steam is coming out from the outlet. See, now, so you allow this, now you take out the flask from the stand and allow it to cool down. So, you just remove this thermometer as well as steam outlet. So, you do one thing, so you just invert this, close this with a stopper, okay. No water is spilled out, okay. Say here is the water. Say the temperature inside the water is 80 degrees Celsius. Now it is at 80 degrees Celsius. Assume that it is at 80 degrees Celsius. Now pour ice cold water. You just pour ice cold water. When you pour ice cold water on the surface of this round bottom flask, the water vapor inside the flask got condensed. See, therefore, pressure inside the flask decreases. As the pressure decreases, boiling point also decreases. Now, you will be surprising to find that water started boiling. As soon as you start pouring cold water on the surface, water inside the flask started boiling because pressure inside the flask got decreased. As pressure decreases, boiling point also decreases. Now water start boiling. So it's a amusing experiment you can conduct at home, or even if you come to the laboratory, we can show this. See, therefore, the boiling point is depends on pressure. Have you understood? So now let us come to another situation, so wherein certain substances undergo change of phase from solid directly to a gaseous phase. Such cases are also there. So therefore, if there is a change of phase from solid to gas or its vapor, change of state from solid to its vapor without passing through the liquid state, then it is called sublimation. Sublimation. See, here boiling point is lesser than the melting point, therefore it is directly enters into gaseous state, its vapor state, right, without passing through the liquid state. See, that is called sublimation. See, you might have seen camphor, and then naphthalene balls, dry ice means solid carbon dioxide, dry ice, iodine, solid iodine. So they are all examples for this category. So they are called sublimes. The substances which exhibits the property of sublimation are said to be sublimes. So here solid directly enter into its vapor state without passing through the liquid state. It is called sublimation. And sometimes it so happens that vapor directly condensed into solid. Vapor becomes directly got solidified. So in such a case, it is called hoarfrost. Okay, here vapor directly condensed into the solid without getting converted into a liquid, it directly became solid. See, during winter, see, if you go to Jammu, Kashmir, see, there will be continuous ice fall. See, why this happens? Because of this. Say, during this, you will be finding that there is a change of snowfall. We also call it as a snowfall. Snowfall is an example for this. Snowfall in Kashmir or Jammu is an example for this. Have you got it? And we can represent this change of state by certain diagrams, when we call them as phase diagrams. Phase diagrams. Phase diagram. What is a phase diagram? The graph which is obtained by plotting pressure versus temperature. If you plot the graph of pressure versus temperature, you will get a curve, and we call it as phase diagram. So, it may be like this, it may be like this, or it may be like this. See, depending on which are the two phases which are coexisting in thermal equilibrium, it represents the phases which are coexisting in thermal equilibrium. In this case, if you take ice started melting into water, it is represented by this curve. It is called ice line or fusion curve, right? So, here solid got converted into its vapor, sublimation curve. So, if you plot all the three curves, vaporization curve, fusion curve and sublimation curve on a single graph, like this. So, this is fusion curve. See, this is sublimation curve, and this is vaporization curve. Okay. So, you will find that all these are coexisting in equilibrium. Here there is a solid, liquid phase is there, vapor is there. All are coexisting in equilibrium, and this particular temperature and pressure, wherein all the three phases of a substance coexisting in thermal equilibrium, is called as triple point. We call this as triple point. It is the particular conditions of temperature and pressure of a substance wherein all the three phases coexisting in equilibrium, and that is called triple point. If you take for water, it is 273.16 Kelvin at 4.58 millimeter of mercury, or if you express it in terms of Pascal, 6.11 into 10 raised to minus 3 Pascal. See, at this particular pressure and temperature, all the three phases coexisting in thermal equilibrium, that is a triple point. See, it is different for different materials. For example, if you take carbon dioxide, so you will be finding that for carbon dioxide, so it will be around, it depends on it, it will be around, temperature is 216.65 Kelvin, and the pressure is 3.88 millimeter of mercury, 3.88 millimeter of mercury. So, therefore, it is different for different substances. Have you got it? And phase diagram plays a very important role in understanding change of phase. See, this is the significance of the graph. Okay. So, knowing of all this, so let us understand more about latent heat. Latent. So, now let us consider a solid. You are supplying heat to the solid. As we observed earlier, the solid started melting and got converted into its liquid. So, during conversion of solid to the liquid, you will be observing that there is no change in temperature. See, therefore, whatever the amount of heat supplied by you is being hidden by the system, is being utilized by the system in order to get itself converted from one phase to another phase, from one state to another state. Okay. So, therefore, the amount of heat required to convert unit mass of a solid completely into its liquid at its melting point without any change in temperature is called as latent heat of fusion. Latent heat of fusion. The amount of heat supplied is I taken as Q, and this is equal to M into L into F, where LF is called latent heat of fusion. Latent heat of fusion. Latent means in Greek hidden. When you supply heat to a solid, it starts melting. See, during melting stage, you will be observing that there is no change in temperature until the solid completely got converted into its liquid. There is no change in temperature. The temperature remains same. See, therefore, whatever additional heat supplied by you or whatever heat you are continuously supplying to the system is being utilized by the system in order to get itself converted into another state. See, that's why it's called latent heat. Latent heat. See, therefore, the amount of heat required to convert unit mass of the solid completely into its liquid at its melting point without any change in temperature is called as latent heat of fusion. Suppose if you take ice, latent heat of fusion is 3.36 into 10 raised to 5 joule per kg. Or 336 kilojoules, 336 kilojoules per kg. 336 kilojoules per kg. In terms of calories, you can write it back 80 calories per gram. 80 calories per gram. Or kilocalories per kg, you can write like that. So, therefore, amount of heat required to convert unit mass of a solid completely into its liquid at its melting point without any change in temperature is called latent heat of fusion. For ice, its value is 336 kilojoules per kg or 80 calories per gram. You can remember these two values. It's very important values. We require them during calculation. Alright. Suppose when there is a change of state from liquid to its vapor, so you are boiling a liquid. Suppose if you take water in a container, water started boiling at 100 degrees Celsius. When you go on supplying heat to water, even though it is boiling, you will be observing that the temperature of water remains at 100 degrees Celsius, but whatever heat you have supplied is being utilized by molecules of water or the system to get itself converted from liquid state to its vapor state. Completely it got evaporated. Until it got evaporated, its temperature remains at 100 degrees Celsius. Have you got it? See, that is called latent heat of vaporization. Latent heat of vaporization. Vaporization. See, therefore, if Q is the amount of heat supplied, then amount of heat supplied is Q. Q is equal to M into L into V, where LV is the latent heat of vaporization. LV is given by, if you for water, see it is 2.256 into 10 raised to 6 joule per kg, or it is about 540 calories per gram. Okay. So this is about latent heat of vaporization, that you must remember this value. When you want to express them graphically, you will be, suppose we have ice at minus 10 degrees Celsius, right? 0, minus 10. So when you supply heat to it, so you are supplying heat to the system, you will be finding that initially as heat is supplied, temperature, this is temperature increases and it becomes 0 degrees Celsius. At 0 degrees Celsius, ice started melting, it is getting converted into water. Therefore, until it become water, how much heat is required? 3.36 into 10 raised to 5 joules of heat is required. Okay. See, that much of heat is being utilized by it in order to get itself converted into water. Later on, again when you continue supplying heat, it started boiling, its temperature increases. At a particular temperature, it started boiling. Say this is 100 degrees Celsius. It started boiling. See, therefore, here how much heat is utilized by it? 2.256 into 10 raised to 6 joules of heat is utilized by it in order to get itself converted into steam. See, their temperature remains constant, right? It does not change. Temperature remains constant. See, here I must make use of heat. See, this is temperature. See, here temperature is at 100 degrees Celsius. Whatever heat you have supplied, it remains constant. This much of heat is being utilized by it and temperature remains constant, right? On further increasing the temperature, see, the steam temperature increases, right? On further supplying the heat, the steam temperature rises. If the temperature of the steam, it is around 137 degrees Celsius, we call it as superheated steam. Superheated steam. If it is very large, it is called super. For example, in a thermal power plant at Raichur, they produce us superheated steam using the coal. They produce a steam, and the steam so produces a superheated steam. It is at very high temperature, and that steam is used to turn the turbine. When the turbine turns, shaft attached to it turns, and the shaft is connected to a generator, AC generator, and from which electricity is being generated. Okay. See, therefore, superheated steam is one whose temperature is around 137 degrees Celsius. It's a very high. So, remember, since latent heat of vaporization is very, very high, the burns which happens due to steam are more dangerous. So they are more severe. They cause severe damages on the tissues. Say if you take one steam at 100 degrees Celsius and water at 100 degrees Celsius, both the temperature remains same, both are at same temperature, but steam causes severe burns because latent heat of vaporization of steam is more. See, that's why steam is dangerous. See, therefore you might have read in the newspapers, if the boiler burst, so many people were being affected like that, because the steam which is being released is very dangerous. It causes severe burns. See, this is about how we have to study the variation of state of a substance when heat is supplied to it. So, latent heat is a very important concept in understanding the change of state. So, now let us work out one or two problems related to this, so that you can easily comprehend the content. Example, let us take one example. When 0.15 kg of ice at 0 degree Celsius is mixed with 0.3 kg of water at 50 degrees Celsius in a container, the resulting temperature is resulting temperature is 6.7 degrees Celsius. Calculate latent heat of fusion of ice. See, here we have to make use of the principle of calorimetry. See, 0.15 kg of ice at 0 degree Celsius mixed with 0.3 kg of water. See, therefore, heat lost by water is equal to heat gained by ice in order to melt itself, and heat required by the ice water to rise to certain temperature. How much? 6.7 degrees Celsius. See, therefore, there are two parts. One is heat lost by water is equal to heat required to melt ice plus heat required to rise temperature of ice water. See, what is heat lost by water? Mass of water, specific heat capacity of water, and difference in temperature. Initially, theta 1 minus theta final temperature. This is initial temperature, this is final temperature. And heat required to melt ice, mass of ice, latent heat of fusion, plus heat required by ice water, mass of ice water plus specific heat capacity of water, then initial temperature, final temperature minus initial temperature. See, therefore, here you have to consider difference in the temperature, theta final minus theta initial. Okay. Mass of water, how much? 0.3 kg. specific heat capacity. See, so you know that specific heat capacity of water is, if you take in terms of joule, its value is 4186 known to you. And what is initial temperature? Initial temperature is 50 degrees Celsius, final temperature is 6.7 degrees Celsius. Mass of ice is 0.15. Latent heat of fusion, you have to calculate this, plus mass of ice becomes ice water, therefore 0.15, specific heat capacity 4186, and here final temperature 6.7, initial temperature of ice water is 0 degrees Celsius. Okay, so you please simplify this. So when you simplify this, finally you are going to get LF is around it will be equal to, its value is known to you, it will be 3.34 into 10 raised to 5 joule per kg. So you please check it up, okay, calculate on yourself, you will be getting the value around this, okay, after simplification. Even you can round it up 4200, in some textbook they will directly round it up and take a 4200 joule per kg. Whatever data given in the problem, based on that we can see, therefore it will be around this, okay, 3.36 or 3.34 into 10 raised to 5 joule per kg. So let me take another example related with this. Calculate the heat required to convert heat required to convert 3 kg of ice at minus 12 degrees Celsius kept in calorimeter to steam at 100 degrees Celsius at atmospheric pressure. See here, see whatever amount of heat supplied, first it increases the temperature from minus 12 degree to 0 degree Celsius. I take it as Q1. See, therefore amount of heat required to rise the temperature of ice from minus 12 degree Celsius to 0 degree Celsius, that is Q1, plus amount of heat required to convert ice into water, that is Q2. You are converting ice into water. Amount of heat required to rise the temperature of ice water from 0 degree Celsius to 100 degree Celsius. Amount of heat required to convert water at 100 degree Celsius into steam at 100 degree Celsius. Therefore, there are 4 parts are there. So, I once again explain this. Q1 refers to amount of heat required to convert ice at minus 12 degree Celsius to ice at 0 degree Celsius. See, therefore, mass of ice into specific heat capacity of ice into temperature difference, theta final minus theta initial. See here, mass of ice is known to you, how much? 3 kg. Specific heat capacity of ice, it will be, say in terms of, if you calculate in terms of calories, it is 0.5 calorie per gram, or if you express in terms of kg, see its value will be different. Okay, here they have given data, in the data itself they have given, see it's about 2100, remember this, its value is 2100, and theta final is 0 degree, minus of minus 12 degree. Okay, you please simplify this. And what is Q2? Q2 is m into m of ice into LF. What is this? M, LF is already known to you, 3.36 into 10 raised to 5. You please calculate this, joule. Q3, amount of heat which is required to convert water at 0 degree Celsius to water at 100 degree Celsius. Mass of water, specific heat capacity of water, final temperature minus initial temperature. Mass of water is again 3, specific heat capacity 4186, and this is 100 minus 0. Please calculate this. And finally, you are converting water at 100 degree Celsius completely into its steam. See, therefore, Q4 is equal to m mass ice water. See, this is water completely converted into ice. Ice completely converted into water multiplied by latent heat of vaporization. This is 3. Latent heat of vaporization is 2.256 into 10 raised to 6 joule. Calculate this. So, when you add all this, you are going to get how much of heat is required. Have you understood? In this way, say we can make use of principle of calorimetry in calculating the total heat required, or if latent heat of fusion or evaporation is to be calculated, we can use the same technique. Okay. So, there used to be a problem related to latent heat and change calorimetry, right. So, therefore, you please solve this category of problems, even they are given in your textbooks. So, it is a worked example, you please look into that and please solve this. Okay. So, with this, let me stop at this stage and continue the next class. And dear students, according to state board, the change of up to change of state, up to this latent heat they have prescribed for this examination for first PU. See, they have removed modes of heat transfer. Actually, another topic was there, it is again big topic. See, from the examination point of view, they have removed it, but for entrance it is required. We will handle those topics later, but for sake of completion, I will stop at this stage and we shall move on to the next chapter in the next class. Okay, thank you.